the resources that you have and additional allocations, we would ask what we've been asking for a number of years now, which is don't put any more money into this project until it's either altered so that it aligns with community goals, or in some way realigned to actually meet the needs we have today, which is not highway widening. The era of highways in urban areas, particularly in walkable neighborhoods, it's over. And sadly, we've seen that sunk cost fallacies, or perhaps just the momentum of old thinking, has kept this zombie of a project going. But please don't put any more money into it. You've got an awesome opportunity to allocate resources to something that actually does align with city goals and walkable neighborhoods and transit-oriented development in the East End. And that includes the Fulton rail yard project, which would improve our community by enhancing rail service to the awesome Main Street station. And I'm sure you have other opportunities too. So if it's all right, I'd like to leave you with a document. We've already shared that with Dr. Voll and his administration. I appreciate that they're considering this for a better way forward for the Chaco Valley Streets Improvement Project. But pending that and pending some better thinking about this fundamentally flawed over budget and behind schedule project, we ask that you not put any more good money chasing after bad money. So thank you very much for your consideration. Thanks for your service to the community. And again, special thanks to Dr. Vula for guiding our awesome city.
Thank you, Mr. Finley. Kevin Ciafrani?
Yeah, can you all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Good morning, Chair Moyer and members of the committee. My name is Kevin Cianfarini. I'm a resident of Richmond City, and I'm also a co-lead with Climate Change Makers RVA. We advocate for climate positive policy changes in the greater Richmond region. I'm here today to strongly oppose redirecting any unallocated transit funding towards road and highway expansion projects like the Chaco Valley Streets project or the Poet Parkway expansion project. In a time where GRTC is having to cut service frequency because of a lack of funding, reallocating funds away from transit and towards highway expansion is downright irresponsible. When we properly fund transit, we can move more people with less dollars. Unfortunately, the constraints that the CVTA imposes on transit funding within its project selection framework helps explain why millions of dollars in transit funding have gone unallocated. These rules are self-imposed, artificially limiting, and if changed, will help transit flourish in Central Virginia. As a regular rider of GRTC, I can personally attest to the demand for high-frequency transit exists in Central Virginia. Despite midday service cuts to the Pulse, buses are regularly so packed with people outside of rush hour that there is no seating available. Leaning into this latent demand for transit service requires that we fund it, not redirect funds away and towards highway expansion. Instead of using the surplus to fund highway expansion with transit money, the CVTA should fund the full $13.5 million match for GRTC's build grant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have one more in the audience that would like to speak.
Hi, Richard Romerow from Churchill, 105 North 29th Street. I'm with the, used to be the Livable Streets Committee, used to be the Transportation Committee. I want to speak about the Chaco Valley Streets Improvement Project. Just one thing about 17th Street. There's a lady who was killed there a couple years ago crossing the street. It said that, you know, the driver or her was at fault. It was the engineering was not good. And now we're expanding that, taking away housing, because there's a city block that could have had a whole nother lane of housing, but that's going to be more cars. My wife has driven there over 1,000 times. We lost a car. Someone went around the corner and just moved over and totaled the car. And I think one of the more important things is there's going to be a very important slave history museum there. And when I dropped off my daughters recently this summer in DC, I felt awkward being in a car because in DC, people are riding bicycles and they're walking. And what we're doing here, we're taking a very important site, and it had the McDonald's, it has 7-Eleven. We're adding a bunch of circles, and the circles are not horrible. It really is the one extra lane going on to Broad is a little bit much, and then a slip lane near an elementary school. Please prioritize pedestrians and people on bikes and not highways. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more. Mr. Chris Curtis?
Yes, can y'all hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, thank you. Good morning, community members. My name is Chris Curtis. I live at 12451 Dutton Road in Midlothian in Chesterfield County. I'm here today just to express my strong opposition to the redirection of transit funds towards highway expansions. I want more regional transit service that's frequent and reliable, and potentially reallocating transit funds towards highways is in direct conflict with that desire. I lived in Utah for about 10 years before moving to Central Virginia. I saw firsthand how continuously funding highway expansions didn't solve traffic congestion. Projects on I-15 took years to build, and if anything, made traffic worse. As a result, I preferred taking the front runner train through the Utah Valley rather than just sitting in traffic. I wish we had something like that here that we could fund. I'm urging you to please ensure that funding allocated for transit actually benefits transit riders by funding the full match of the $13.5 million for GRTC's build grant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. I believe that is the end of the public hearing, public comment period. And at this time, we'll, as the switch I mentioned, we'll go to other business. Number one, final round for regional application scorecards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I refer members to page 17 in the packet. This is a staff report, item B1, regarding the application scorecards, but specifically options for unallocated funds. Just a little bit of background. As you are all aware, the authority, the full authority on January 23rd, referred back to the TAC and the Finance Committee consideration of a fifth option that was added to four options that the TAC advanced after their December meeting, I believe. So this agenda item focuses on unallocated funds, which I believe one of the public comment that was just shared referenced the framework that we use for deciding regional funding. That framework has requirements for maintenance of effort to fully fund projects when possible, and when project applications cannot be fully funded, there may be a remainder of funds by category, whether that's transit or highway or rail or others. Those remainders of funds are unallocated in the framework and can be applied at the discretion of the committee of the full authority. So we are now talking about unallocated funds and options that primarily the TAC has recommended for assigning those funds to projects in round 4. This is in addition to what the framework has determined would be candidate projects based on all of our criteria. That is going to be out for public review starting today through the 26th. The unallocated funds that we are discussing this morning is in addition to that pot of funds that is assumed to be assigned for a variety of projects that were all applied for and received by the authority. So the options are contained in the packet starting on page 18, 18, and 19. They basically summarize 5 different ways to distribute the funds. And just a quick review for the Finance Committee, the first option would be to leave the unallocated balance unprogrammed, basically leaving that in balance entry so that it could be applied at a later date for projects that are necessary and maybe unforeseen. The second option would be to allow jurisdictions with the next project in each category to reduce their request that would match and receive the available balance in that category. And as I said earlier, this is kind of against the approach of the CVTA, which is to fully fund projects whenever possible. So that the list of 6 projects under item 2 would be the next project up in each category and the amount of funding requested, as well as the balance that could be applied. Item 3, option 3 would be to fund 2 projects and then split the remaining balance between bond candidate projects to help advance PE and right-of-way. The 4th option would be to use the entire unallocated balance to advance PE and right-of-way for candidate bond projects so that they are shovel-ready. We have heard loud and clear from our bond counsel as well as our financial advisors that when the CVTA is ready to introduce projects to the market, they need to be shovel ready, and option 4 would help advance those projects to a point where they would be more attractive when we're ready to go. And then option 5 would be to deallocate funding from 3 projects according to the prioritization framework, and then use that entire unallocated funding balance to advance a list of projects. Just a little bit more information on option 5. The TAC met on Monday and discussed this option in particular. There were a number of adjustments to the option, and TAC ended up making a recommendation that is very similar to what is in your agenda packet, but slightly different. There were a few adjustments for a couple of the projects on the list, but it is essentially taking the same approach. We did, for the committee's information, we did recognize yesterday that the framework deallocation policy is adjusted slightly from when we had first taken this up, so that deallocating funds from the 3 projects in the packet would be more at the discretion of the authority than the policy itself. And just I can review the policy details if you would like when we get to discussion.
Yeah.
But essentially, the TAC is scheduled to meet again tomorrow afternoon to have additional discussion on option 5 and possibly change or alter recommendations based on that discussion. The request today is really open for Finance Committee consideration. You could recommend an option for advancement to the full authority. You could pause and wait to see what the TAC comes up with tomorrow in their discussion. And you could take no action if that is the desire of the committee. In terms of the overall picture, we are advancing towards a public hearing on the 27th, which obviously will have public input. I'm sure a lot of the folks that were here today sharing their opinions may be back on the 27th. And I think that recommendations from the TAC and the Finance Committee are important for the full authority, but they are just a component of the overall picture. The discussions from TAC and Finance Committee today, I think, are focusing on the unallocated funding balance and not the overall slate of projects. So there's a larger consideration that will be happening at the end of the month.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Before I should have had the TAC activity report before that. I'm sorry, but if there's anything else you have to add to that, I'd appreciate it. And what you think may be happening in the Thursday meeting.
Yes, so no, I think Mr. Parsons captured exactly what had happened yesterday or Monday when we met as TAC. What I was anticipating tomorrow is that there would be several other proposals put forward for consideration in light of the fact that roughly 25 million in funds that we assume would be available through the deallocation process are not going to be there. So we're working with a smaller pot. So I'm aware of some conversations about various proposals and kind of considering options as well. So I really don't know what the outcome will be tomorrow. I really have no sense what that would be. But that's gonna be our objective tomorrow, is to assess everything, and if it's the will of the TAC to amend our recommendation or whatever the case may be, that's what I expect will happen.
For that meeting, is it possible to have all the TAC members put their ideas of what they want together? So everybody in the TAC would see them before your meeting?
So we could certainly put something out and ask TAC members if they have, a certain proposal that they would like to discuss, to provide that in advance.
That'd be really good.
Yes.
Because, we have a situation where we have a large amount of money that can be used, and we want to use it for the best. And Mr. Carroll, you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir. You look like you.
Well, I've got, I guess, questions and a comment. So from what I understand, TAC met on Monday, correct?
Yes,
Came up with a recommendation, right?
correct.
It wasn't unanimous, but it was majority. And then on yesterday, Chet says we, I don't know whoever we is, we found out that there was a policy that would not allow for the deallocated projects to be considered because they had not been, it's 4 years of cycles, I guess. What is it then? What?
Yes, sir. I found this yesterday morning because I wanted to go back and verify that we were doing everything by the book, and then consulted with the tech chair. But the approach, we'll say previously, had been that projects, if they do not advance through 2 rounds of smart scale, that they could be candidates for deallocation. The policy that the authority adopted last year was, I think, broadened a bit to not just focus on the smart scale program, but a period of time. So 4 years rather than 2 rounds of smart scale, because that would capture, additional grant opportunities through the federal government or other sources that might not be smart scale. So if we go by that 4-year window, the 3 projects that are on the consideration list that TAC discussed were allocated funds in December of 2022. 4 years from there would be December of 2026. So that's kind of where Mr. Vadunas and I started talking about that yesterday.
But generally speaking, this is a policy of CVTA that was amended.
Yes, sir.
Could be amended again. Robust conversation. I don't have Mr. Carroll's experience, so I don't know if we've ever had this level, and maybe this level of conversation happens all the time. I don't know, but it seems like there's a lot of options and conversations, etc. I've not heard pushback on the deallocated projects per se. Is there a pushback on the projects themselves? It sounds like the general consensus is the more money in unallocated funds available, the more options we have. So while instead of reducing it back 25 million, why wouldn't we just look at making some type of adjustment so that we can continue to look at 73 million?
Yeah. Mr. Carroll.
So nothing prevents a locality from that whose project is up for deallocation from voluntarily saying, you know what, we realized that we went through the process twice, we didn't get any money, we've tried other avenues, it's not going to work, so we're deciding to pull that funds and put it towards another project that we have, right? So nothing prevents that from happening or putting it back in the pot. But the reason we made the decision was that we wanted to give, especially a smaller jurisdiction that would have a project, an opportunity to find a different funding source, or to even a larger jurisdiction say, this is a really important project for us. We found a way to fund the rest of it ourselves. We don't want to lose the money that we already have committed from the CVTA. But if a jurisdiction, I'll say if Chesterfield had a project and we looked at it and said, it's not doing well, we're gonna pull it ourselves. You certainly can do that. So that's why the policy was put in place. And so certainly all three of those particular projects, the jurisdictions that belong to could voluntarily say, yeah, I'm okay with pulling it to try and fund something else. Which I think has been part of some of the discussions that I've been having. So, my opinion is I'd like to give TAC more time to have an opportunity to see if they can hammer this out in TAC. I think it's a better process because all of the jurisdictions have an opportunity to weigh in. What we could do today is just defer, have a special CVTA Finance Committee meeting a half hour prior to our scheduled meeting on the 27th. So when we adjourn today, adjourn to the 27th at 8:30 for a Finance Committee meeting, get recommendations from TAC, and then have them ready for a 9 o'clock meeting immediately following. It's just an option, but it gives, I think, an opportunity for TAC to continue their work. Also gives us an opportunity to consult with those jurisdictions whose projects they are to find out where they're at. But ultimately, you're right. If the CVTA chose to change that process, we could. I just don't like the look of changing the process right now because we're trying to just deallocate somebody else's project, me personally.
So we do have representatives from Richmond and Henrico here. We do not have representatives from Ashland here.
But
So we would be going to each of those and asking what their thoughts are on that. And then that would mean that if that could be done before the TAC meeting tomorrow, that.
I mean, they're part of
That'd be an
TAC, so
idea.
they could even bring it to the TAC tomorrow and say, we've
Sure.
consulted with our jurisdiction.
Okay.
So I'm not disagreeing with you.
Oh, I know.
No,
But we should have already done that. This has already been discussed. So TAC would have come today with a recommendation. If TAC was coming today with a recommendation. The only thing that changes the recommendation is what was found out yesterday, correct?
procedural.
Correct. Yes, it would be more
Right, so we should
procedural.
have, my point is, we should have already asked Ashland whether or not they were okay. Right?
And they may or may not have been a dissent, Mr. Chair, in that, and I think TAC can probably give us a
And I hate to
report on
put you
that.
on
Yes. So,
but I guess my potential option 5 would not be under consideration if we had not talked to all the localities. Is that correct or not correct?
I'm not sure I follow. So option 5 was referred from the full authority to TAC, and
Right.
and that's where we considered that actually was the first, that was the first vote that was taken. There was a motion on option 5, unamended. Okay, that failed.
Mhm.
And then a second motion was made and made an adjustment to 2 projects.
Under option 5.
It took option 5, the original option 5, and then a revised, if you will, option 5 or 5A.
Right.
That was voted on. That made an adjustment to 2 projects. It took 5 million away from the Fulton Yard project and added it to the 33 widening project. That was the only change that was voted on, and that passed 7-1-1. Ashland abstained, and I believe New Kent was opposed to that.
Okay. So. But Ashland was a part of the process.
Yes,
Ashland knew that one of their projects would be deallocated.
yes, they were aware. Yes, they were under that assumption.
So now I guess what I'm hearing is Ashland is not at the table now. So we gotta go back to Ashland and get their concurrence if this particular option or 5A would be reconsidered. Well, based upon what we're saying now, it wouldn't be reconsidered because that 24,985 million is no longer on the table. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mr. Chair, or you could take that 24 and just subtract Ashland from it. If Henrico agreed to deallocate their project and Richmond agreed to deallocate their project, those 2 funds would go back in minus the Ashland number. That's the only thing that needs to be worked out. Right?
Not trying to make a big deal about it.
No, it's a good
But what I'm
conversation.
saying is, if you wouldn't have found this yesterday,
Yes, that's correct.
then today, the recommendation from TAC would be 5A would be coming to the finance committee. Did we ask Ashland on Monday? You understand what I'm saying? Like, did anybody go to Ashland on Monday and say, are you good with your project being deallocated? Now we're saying we have to go to Ashland actual permission. No disrespect to Ashland, but I'm just saying, it just seems like there's something happening now that didn't happen on Monday.
I think I could answer that. I had several conversations with Ashland. And they were unaware of the deallocation and they were very upset about the potential of those funds being lost. They were very passionate about that funding remaining. So I hate speaking for them, but it's doubtful that they would voluntarily see those funds removed.
Okay, that's what I had figured that.
Okay.
Anything else? What,
I don't know if there's any more discussion. I'll make a motion after we're done with discussion.
okay, good. Mayor?
So you made a motion?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I-
All right. So
He's getting there.
I've got one more question
Okay,
before the
then,
motion is
go ahead.
made.
Go ahead.
So TAC is meeting tomorrow. And TAC is now going back to the original 48 million estimated unallocated funding number.
Mr. Chairman, no, go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor.
Well, on to answer that question specifically, like we would actually be open to deallocating for Forest Hill,
Okay.
but it's sort of depend because like we would love to reconsider where that money is going, right? And so the GRTC transit station has jumped up our priority list because of the opportunity to go after federal money for it, and the shovel readiness of it. We have it out to our queue right now, so I think there is more that you know us and TAC should kind of talk through around this potential option 5. I mean, I think we can get there, but it's probably not quite as simple as if Ashland were to agree, we would be able to move forward.
Oh, no, I agree. Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's a whole bunch of different options out on the table, so I don't think you're nowhere near agreeing. I think TAC agreed on Monday, but I think we're all over the place right now, honestly. So, all right, that's my last question.
You're done? Okay. Chet.
Just following the mayor's comments. I mean, I think that's spot on. Part of what TAC can discuss yesterday is Henrico, the city and Ashland can come to the table with, you know, a new opinion on whether they would voluntarily want to deallocate those 3 projects. And that would help TAC in its decision-making process, you know, with an understanding of what funding is available to distribute. So that's the only point ahead.
Very good. Any other discussion?
What I would say is, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to defer this to a specially called Finance Committee meeting 27th. That would be my motion.
But we have a motion.
Second.
Yes, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So there'll be a meeting at 8:30, February 27th in this room with the Finance Committee, followed by the full CVTA to make considerations on the unallocated funds.
The entire slate.
The entire slate of round 4. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, everybody, for your ideas and considerations. We'll go back to the my Finance Committee report. I think what I have seen is the importance of tax as being you know, the ability to put forth what the jurisdictions want, what they can afford, what they need. And there is an importance of following procedures that we have, and sometimes we just gotta look for that stuff when we can. That'll be it for my report, but I'll go next to the CVTA activities report, and we got the financials with Mr. Parsons.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm actually gonna hand this over to Ms. Shepherd, who is virtual today, and she's going to be providing our quarterly update.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Can everyone hear and see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful. So this latest tax collections and distribution schedule reflects the tax activity through December 31, 2025. As a reminder, we've added additional color to tie this schedule to the Sankey diagram on the next slide, where we'll walk through the numbers. So tax revenues on the left in orange, that's sales and use tax at 61 million, making up 75% of the total revenues funding CVTA, and local fuels tax of 20 million, for a total of 81 million in revenues for this period. Of the 81 million collected, as per the distribution ratio adopted by the authority, 50%, or that 40 million in green, has been distributed to the localities. 35%, or 28 million in blue, has been distributed to the regional fund, and 15%, or 12 million in purple, to GRTC during this period. The operating fund transfer is that thin pink line at the bottom. We'll review year-to-date operating expenses in detail on the next slide. These are those detailed operating expenses year-to-date, fiscal year 26, so July through December 2025. 437,000 has been spent year-to-date, and those expenses are broken out here into the four major categories of personnel, professional services, technology, and administration, alongside one additional level of detail. Preliminary expenses are tracking appropriately at this point in the fiscal year. There are no material changes to annual projections at this time. As a reminder, classification adjustments around recording of the new financial management system are reflected in projections. And these are those same operating expenses, just reflected in an Excel format. Any questions on current operating expenses before I provide a financial management system update?
Go ahead, Ms. Shepherd.
Great. So as a reminder, the system is called JAMIS, and we are live as of January 1st. So thank you again to the authority for your support and investment in this critical project. We have met every critical deadline and milestone to date. As of January 1st, staff are entering their timesheets in the new system. We're processing labor and payroll, accounts payable, and generating invoices. We are not yet done. We still need to bring over additional historical cost data for grants outside of the large transportation awards. We're also working to implement NACHA functionality, which is a more efficient way of processing our ACH or electronic payments through a bank upload rather than manual entry of individual payments. We have about another 4 to 6 weeks of heads down work, really digging into the reporting and forecasting functionality once all of that historical cost data is in. There is one invoicing presentation change that I'd like to share with this group. So for employees exclusively providing support to CVTA, so that's Mr. Parsons and Ms. Namwea, invoicing from Plan RVA to CVTA will now include an applied fringe rate instead of individual line items for separate fringe expenses. This method of reimbursement is in alignment with the invoicing of all other Plan RVA employees performing work for CVTA. And this change supports guidance as outlined in CVTA's financial policies and procedures, specifically around achieving operational efficiencies through standardization of practices. We have communicated this change with our fiscal agent partners. There's no action required today. We're sharing for information purposes. Any questions on the system implementation before I turn it back to Mr. Parsons?
We're good. Thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you.
And Lauren, do you mind advancing to the investment report?
You got it.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
There aren't many updates to provide today in terms of the December investment report. I will show that if you look at the bottom left of the table, interest earnings have leveled off and are consistent with the prior year. So this might be the first time we've seen interest earnings not going up over prior year expenses or prior year earnings. So we're obviously tracking that, and a lot of that is dependent on things happening outside of our control. We also, you can see that the portfolio yield is almost a point below where we were a year ago, from 4.8 down to 3.9. We are liquid in pooled funds, 100%, I believe, right now. So we are going to continue to monitor yields, but the expectations from our fiscal agent is that they will continue to trend downward. So it's not all sunshine, and but we are continuing to track this with advice and advisement from our fiscal agents on how to make the best out of this situation.
My note is that I believe this year's December was the first time under 4, and last year's December was the first time under 5. It's interesting that we hope that doesn't occur again to be under 3. But I got to, the credit to Chesterfield and all our people involved in this to be able to keep our interest rates where they are, even though we're a point below. It just says a lot for what's in there and how they're handling our funds. Any other questions for Mr. Parson or suggestions or something to do with the financial report? Well, thank you. I got TAC. We've already had some information on TAC and that. So we'll go to number 2, the local CVTA funding quarterly report.
Yes, sir. This is an information item, page 28 in the packet. We do intend to provide quarterly updates on spending, and what is in your packet now is in reference to the local CVTA funding, the 50% that goes back to localities for use for transportation purposes outlined by the Code of Virginia. This document contains the quarterly reporting for the second quarter of FY26, so through December. It serves as the reporting tool for local spending each fiscal year. We do use this and compound it over the year to serve as the background documentation for annual certifications, which will happen in July, August timeframe. But this is the table starting on page 29 shows the voluntary reporting from each member locality on what projects have received CVTA local dollars to advance through the year. And I think I've reviewed this before, but this database tracks all local spending from the inception of the authority back in FY21 through today. So we build on this quarter over quarter so that this can be a reference on any project that has received CVTA local dollars over the lifetime of the authority.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Any questions for that? The one comment I'm make on that, and this will lead into the Finance Committee members' comments, is that I'm going to be taking the form that Mr. Parsons just talked about and putting it together just for the new Kent and sharing it with the rest of our board of supervisors and our school board and show them what everybody has benefited in New Kent from the CVTA being one, either regional or being the 50% coming to us. This is, we're New Kent. We have, money's coming from Rosie's, money coming from speed cameras. Those are all funds that can basically go to the general fund and then use. So they are actually taxpayers' money. CVTA is a lot different. It's not a taxpayer paying a tax from their property or their cars. This is people driving through the community, buying things and spending on gas. And so those kind of funds are, a bonus. And they have no clue. A lot of people have no clue how much money has been gathered from this entity. So I want to make sure they understand that. And if they get that out to their constituents, I'd be happy. Any other comments from the board, from the Finance Committee?
John,
Yes.
I think it's a great idea. I think I'll do that for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Would you format it differently than from in here, or just give them excerpts from this?
Yeah, I'm going to format it differently between myself and Ms. Inman. We'll get this together, and it'll be what salaries that is paid from the transportation money, because we have a transportation department now. We have, been able to leverage some other projects because of this, and put it together in not just maybe a spreadsheet, but also a little Word document too. That could talk about that, but,
I'd love to see that.
okay, yeah. Mhm.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
You know, in the past, we've actually had Chet come to Board of Supervisors meetings and do presentations. Actually, him and I actually went regionally to all the jurisdictions that did in the past, including city council, so I don't want you to feel left out, and Ashland. As a way to get the word out, not just as what locally has happened with CVTA, but what's happened regionally. We actually did get applauded at one location, which was Hanover, which was shocking. But nevertheless, it's always an opportunity. And I will also say too, if we've offered this before, if you want a promo video done, I will offer our services in Chesterfield for your jurisdiction. I've offered it for every jurisdiction to say that if you want to come to us and have us help you frame a video to explain to the community that you can push out what you've been able to accomplish with regionally with the CVTA, we'd be more than happy to work with that. And that has been helpful in the past to be able to push out in a podcast and other things. So we even offer podcast service if you want to do a podcast.
But you still getting royalties from your?
I don't get royalties. I may get other comments, but
No, but the last video I remember was the one that you starred in and did a great job in.
well,
showing
Hanover
the
did one
benefit.
too, which was,
Oh, really?
oh yeah, which was really good.
Okay.
So
Very
no,
good.
it's not just, it's not, no,
Very good.
I've offered this since the beginning.
I
of
know.
CVTA to every jurisdiction, because what Frank used to say when he sat in that chair over there
Mhm.
is that we need to get the message out about the good work that's being done by the regional body. And any way we can do that in any format, we should do it. And so it's just very fortunate that I actually have a really great team of people that do that kind of stuff. They even make me look halfway decent in it. So, it's an option for everyone. I know Henrico has capabilities too, and I know Richmond has capabilities too. So I'm not sitting there saying that there's no one else. But I'm always gonna be an advocate for everyone who sits in this room on this committee to say that we need to have the best way forward to let people know, because really what people don't understand, if the CVTA wasn't created, the Fall Line Trail is not coming out of the ground, right? No one's gonna get the money for that, right? It's just not gonna happen. So when I hear people's arguments about pet projects and other things. Well, the first big project the CVTA did was allocate $105 million to a huge regional project, which is going to benefit not everyone in the CVTA, but the whole region as a whole, right? So I think that that anytime we can get information out, I think is a good thing. So I would just reiterate that, Mr. Chair, that it's available.
Kevin, how old is the general one that you did?
It's old. It needs to be updated because we've had the projects that have been funded, the projects that have actually been completed. When you look at the Fall Line Trail that Henrico's done, you look at the Fall Line Trail that Ashland's done. So those projects really need to be highlighted to the community to say, look, it's not just what we're funding in the future. It's what we've already funded and it's been done. I think is important, and it's completely regional, including the projects that are in the pipeline for the northbound 288 and southbound 288, which is going to help with massive congestion in the morning and the evening with people coming to go working in Henrico and Gooseland.
Well, what do we need to do to authorize you or take you up on your offer? Because
Just send me an email and I'll hook you up.
also, I commend you, when you all came to our board meeting, it was very informative. And I appreciate that very much. I would love to see it again.
Well, Chet does a great job in the presentation. He really does.
Yeah, he does.
The one thing I'll say is one of the reasons why I talked about this is because we're going through the pain of everybody spending money on us. 64 is being, of course, redone, 3 lanes being put, also a lot of money being spent on an interchange there that will help us and hopefully help the region.
Well, that should start a CTB. You should get him to come and do a promo.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, we got a great meetings lined up. Okay, very good. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Next meeting will be March 11th. Okay, we just changed that. Will be February 27th at 8:30 in the boardroom here at 424 Hall Street.
Can you send that out?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Please, yes.
Motion adjourned, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Everybody wants to stay here for a couple more hours. Like, no, it's not anything, I'm gonna stay here.